expert care from people who care.
Hi everyone! Today we are here at the Outreach Teen and Family Services office with Kate, Grace, and a special guest, Mr. Bowles. Mr. Bowles is a counselor at Mount Lebanon High School. He is here to offer his unique wisdom and insight into the bridge between senior year and one's next steps beyond high school.
Although this episode will be generally focused on the transition between high school and college, as well as navigating senior year, especially college applications, we also want to emphasize that college may not be the correct decision for everyone, and there are many other incredible options such as trade school, military, taking a gap year, or going directly into the workforce.
So before we get into the content, we always start off with some fast five questions, so just like this or that questions. So my first question is coffee or tea?
Do you want me? Okay, I'll start us off. I really don't like coffee, so I'll have to go with tea. I just really don't like coffee at all. What about you, Mr. Bowles?
I'm gonna go with tea as well. I'm a pretty high energy person, so I think me having additional caffeine maybe wouldn't be best for everyone involved. And I do actually, I think something I look forward to and have fond memories of is when my wife and I drive back to Chicago, where I'm from originally. We always stop and I get a chai tea latte at like 3 hour mark. So I always have a really positive memory of doing that each time we make the move back. So
nice. That's so nice.
I would have to say coffee because I need caffeine. If I don't have coffee, I typically have like an energy drink in the morning just because I have to.
I love my energy drinks.
Yeah.
What's your favorite brand?
I'm an Alani girl.
I'm also an Alani girl. I had one this morning.
What's Alani?
It's like, do you know Celsius?
I've heard the name.
It's like pretty similar to a Celsius.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
All the energy drinks are the same idea. Okay. Are you more of an early bird or a night owl?
Early bird by far, 100%.
I would say, like, I would say early bird typically, but honestly, my sleep schedule is so bad. Like, I literally slept like 4 hours last night. It's really bad. Because I was going to bed and then I forgot that I didn't do any of my homework because I'm trying to be more carefree. See, but then I had to wake up at 5 and finish my homework. So, what about you, Grace?
I'm definitely an early bird person. I'm like 10 o'clock. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get in my bed. I am not a night owl at all.
Yeah. My third question is travel domestically or abroad?
I am more of a travel abroad girl, but I'm also like, I'm very lucky that I've been able to travel to a lot of places, but I think there's just something so special about going to other countries and getting to see all of the different like cultures and their food and all of the history there. And I feel like with like the United States is really big, but I still feel like there's a lot more similarities between places than if you went to a different country. What about you?
I have an 8-year-old and a 7-year-old kiddos right now. So the idea of traveling international with them feels pretty daunting. And I was fortunate enough to study in Zimbabwe in college for a semester.
Oh wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, it was a fascinating experience. I could spend the whole podcast probably talking about that. And I also, in a previous position, coordinated alternative break service trips for college students, which I can mention that as well later on. So I've had a good international bug. So I think right now, domestic travel is appealing on multiple levels. So
I would say I honestly prefer like traveling abroad just because I really like to see like Grace, you were saying, like the different cultures and just the different aspects of like other countries. But I feel like the United States, like you said, is so big. Like going to like Hawaii and like Alaska feels so different. And it feels like it's not even like.
I feel like Hawaii and Alaska are like their own category.
Yeah.
Like, continental 48.
Yeah.
I'll praise them. Hawaii, basically different country.
Yeah.
Okay, would you rather work from home or in the office?
I'll tackle that one. I much prefer, especially after COVID, or as we're continuing on with COVID or those kind of experiences, I would say in the office by far.
Mhm.
I'm an extrovert and really prefer the opportunity to interact with my colleagues, and working as a school counselor, seeing students in person. I was pretty done with the Google Meets and the Zooms and all that stuff throughout my day for several years. So
Totally understandable. I love a good like work from home or like school from home day, but it's like I'm not nearly as productive as when I'm actually in person. So I think it's nice as a little break every once in a while, but in general, I'm more of a in the school, in the office type of person. What about you, Kate?
I would say I'm the same. Like typically I like to like work in school, but sometimes I like wait, what? We had the power things the other week.
when the power outages
yes,
happened,
that was
yes.
nice.
That doesn't
That
even
was-
count though, because you can't actually do. They didn't have us actually do school.
Well, I mean, like, I could, like, study at home.
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
because that was,
yeah.
like, right before AP season, so it was nice to,
Sure.
like, do that at home.
To have a little extra
Yeah,
time
yeah.
just to yourself.
Yeah.
Were you pretty focused during that time, Kate, or do you feel like you got distracted at home?
I can't remember.
Okay, fair enough.
So
Fair enough.
probably distracted.
Sure,
But that's also probably just it being second semester senior year.
I think, and you're entitled to that. You worked
Yeah.
hard for the last
Yeah.
3.5+ years.
Yeah.
So you deserve that.
Thank you. Okay, final question is, like, physical book or audiobook?
I'm gonna go physical book. So, and I'm super proud of myself, guys. If you don't mind me sharing, I just finished a book this weekend that I've been attempting to finish long enough that I've gotten repeated emails from the library that it was overdue. So I feel like I've now done my civic duty of returning it, and a sense of peace and accomplishment with the physical book.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. What book was it?
it was, I'm a pretty avid golfer, so
Yeah.
it was about a journalist that decided he wanted to try to become a professional golfer.
Mhm.
So it was his journey from being an average golfer to trying to join the PGA Tour and what that experience was like.
Oh,
for him.
wow.
So,
Interesting.
That's a neat
yes, it was
story.
back in maybe 30 years ago or so, but a great book.
Yeah.
Did he make it?
He no, he did not.
Oh.
Yeah. He learned pretty clearly how difficult it
Yeah.
was during the experience.
Oh, very cool.
One of those, like, the journey is
Yeah.
should be
Yeah.
appreciated more than destination.
Exactly.
sort of
Yeah.
experiences. Yeah.
Nice.
So
I'm
it was
very
great.
bad at golfing. I wish I was better.
So am I.
It's
I'm
okay.
I'm really not cut out for it.
Have you guys played before?
Like, rarely. Like, a few times.
I've
Like
played.
Top Golf kind of thing? Or?
Yeah.
I know I've done
Yeah.
Top Golf a couple times. I've gone to an actual physical golf course once.
How'd that go?
Not very well.
Got it.
But I would also, I'm more of a book in hand person.
Okay.
I just, sometimes when I listen to things, I actually like forget to listen to them.
Sure.
Like I'll be watching a show and then I like look at something else and then I'm like 5 minutes later, I'm like, wait, how do we get here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just feel like if I was listening to an audiobook, I would just lose track of it.
Yes.
I'm also a huge, like, physical book person. My
Okay.
mom is the opposite. Like, she likes audiobooks because, like, as she's, like, doing other, like, chores around the house, she'll listen to them. But, like, me, like, I need a physical book. And I also don't like reading on, like, my phone or,
Sure.
like, a Kindle. Like, I used to have a Kindle. I think I still have it. I don't know where it is. But, like, I just like having, like, the pages to, like,
Yes.
actually flip.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes when I'm reading off of a screen, it feels like I'm not actually reading.
Yes.
And I also have, like, a really bad habit to admit, which is, like, after COVID, like, I used to be, like, when I was younger, I was an avid, like, library goer. Like, I would go, like, every week and check out, like,
Sure.
10 books.
Sure.
And then because of COVID, like, we stopped checking out books from the library.
Mhm.
And now I, like, buy every book I read, which is bad because I have, like, a room downstairs that has, like, bookshelves and bookshelves of my books, and it's so bad, like, the amount of books I have and
Sure.
the amount that I haven't even read yet.
It's
I just, like, buy them and then want to read them and then get excited about another one and buy another one.
I mean, there are
Yeah,
worse
really
things
feel
to
that.
spend your
Yeah.
money on. I
Yeah,
think,
exactly.
Yeah.
You know? I think that the danger I find is
Mm.
kind of hearing you talk about I'm impressed with your mom and her ability to multitask,
Yeah,
because I think I would multitask while listening to an audiobook
yeah.
and then be washing dishes after I put the kids down, and the next
Mhm.
thing you know, I lost a whole chapter that I wasn't
Yeah.
retaining, like you were saying, Grace.
Yeah.
So, I'm impressed your mom is able to focus in that way.
I don't know if she's really able to focus, but I think she doesn't really like care.
Sure.
Yeah, I think
yeah.
she just like does it like.
She's not writing an essay on it later on, I would imagine. So,
Yeah.
Got it.
We'd like to take a moment to express our gratitude to St. Clair Health. They've been our steadfast annual sponsor, supporting our podcast for 4 consecutive years now.
At St. Clair Health, we're always improving, building on our commitment to face the challenges of today, making an impact on the communities we serve, so we can be stronger together. St. Clair Health, expert care from people who care.
Okay, so diving into our questions, Mr. Bowles, would you be able to introduce yourself and tell our listeners a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. First off, thanks again for having me on. I'm honored to be on this podcast here. I mentioned earlier that I'm from Chicago originally, and previous to where I'm working now, I worked in higher education for over 10 years at DePaul University in Chicago, and I earned my master's in school counseling while I was working there, and found a position at a high school in the Chicago area, and as a high school counselor, worked there for about 2.5 years. And then my wife and I decided to move here to Pittsburgh. She's from Pittsburgh originally, and I applied for this opening at Mount Lebanon's counseling office, just kind of on a lark. Didn't think they would hire some goofball from Chicago, and sure enough, they did. So we moved here in 2017, right after my Chicago Cubs won the World Series. That was a big benchmark. I felt like my work was done. And have been here for, what is that now, 8.5 years or so, approximately. And I have 2 young boys that are 8 and 7 years old that also go to school in the district at Howe Elementary School. And my role as a school counselor is focused on 3 areas. Number 1 is academics. The second is social, emotional development and support. And then third is post-secondary planning, which Grace mentioned a little bit in the introduction of thinking about college, military, workforce, all that kind of stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I feel like 2017 feels like it was not too long ago,
Sure.
but it's actually 8 years ago,
Yeah.
8.5 years ago. That's
That's
crazy.
when we were in 4th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah, think about where you guys were at that point in time, you know?
How can students make the most of meetings with their counselor during their senior year?
A couple things come to mind on how to make the most of those meetings. Number 1 is I'd recommend trying to build a relationship with your school counselor over the course of high school, if you can. I think that it's fair to say that counselors are usually pretty busy, but are always open to meeting with students. So it's certainly, if you are open to just popping in to letting them know what's going on in your life with school, friends, whatever it might be, plans for after high school, that can help counselors to get to know you better and then figure out how best to support you. When we get into your senior year, I love it, full disclosure, when a student brings a list of questions or an agenda to the meeting. Gosh, I love that, because then I know with that, most importantly, they're taking ownership of the process of what they want to accomplish. And B, that there's a sense of organization with how they're approaching whatever the topic might be, with their senior year. So, and the last thing I would say is the last way I would say to make the most of the meetings is don't be afraid to ask any questions you might have. So about planning for courses, colleges you're thinking about. There are no dumb questions, and the chances are, if you have that question, others have had those questions, and it's been posed to the counselor before. So does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great advice.
I felt like a lot of that resonated with me because like especially at Mount Lebanon, like there's so many kids and there's
Mhm.
only like so many counselors. How many counselors?
There's 7 counselors.
7 counselors
Mhm.
for like, is it 1,800?
About 1,800 students
Yeah,
or so.
which
Yeah.
is like a lot of, the ratio is quite large.
Mhm.
For like how many kids there are per counselor, and I think it's honestly pretty difficult. I even felt like this to like actually create a relationship with my counselor, and I think I got lucky in the sense that I had my like yearly GIEP meetings, which is like, which was an extra chance for like me to meet with my counselor. But like I think it's so important, like you mentioned, Mr. Bowles, to like reach out to your counselor and like set up meetings by taking your own initiative, because I think I remember last year, it was toward the end of junior year, I reached out to my counselor and I was like, hey, like, I think I have my college list, like, pretty much finalized. Like, can I, like, go over it with you and, like, make sure, like, these actually are my reach schools, these actually are my safety schools, and these actually are my, target schools?
Sure.
Because, like, then when I went to go talk to my counselor, I realized that one of the schools I thought was, like, my target schools was actually one of my safety schools, and like maybe I didn't need to apply to as many safety schools as I originally thought.
Sure.
So I think just like honestly being like having the courage to like go reach out to your counselor and like set up those meetings is super important.
Yeah, I think absolutely. And I think also, like, if you're at the end of junior year and you're like, I know I want to talk to my counselor about college planning before the summer, I think it's making sure that you're trying to schedule that meeting towards the beginning of May and not waiting until the last week of school, when, because counselors are always busy. So you have to make sure that you have, that there's time to actually find a time to make the meeting in your schedule work, and not being like, it's the second to last day of school. No, I need to meet with you today.
Yes. Grace, I think you're hitting the nail on the head. I think the more, it's an opportunity for them to get to know you a little bit better, to ask those questions. And I literally had one of those types of meetings with a junior today. So this was 3 hours ago, whatever it was, you know, who came in and we ran through a bit of his college list there. And I said, these are some schools I'd recommend that you look at, and opened up conversations about early action, early decision, all those different terms that I think you two, Grace and Kate, are probably pretty familiar with at this point. But I think the juniors somewhat know these things, but maybe are learning them as they go along. You know what I mean?
That just reminded me of like, oh, sorry, did I cut you off?
No, not at all.
Okay. Another reason why it was really helpful to like meet with my counselor was because my counselor got to know like which schools I was interested in, and I actually got nominated for like 2 scholarships or something that you had. It was like the Jefferson one at the University of Virginia, and then also the Moorhead Kane one at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And like those two, like you need nominations to apply. So like letting my counselor know that I was interested in being nominated for those. I don't know if I told him about the Moorhead Kane. I think that one I just got an email about it, but I know the UVA one, I reached out to my counselor and I told him about it, and that ended up like being very helpful.
Okay, I think you're hitting the nail right on the head there. So the more opportunities we have, just with the ratio being what it is, to be able to get to know our students and what their real interests are, I think the better off everyone's going to be.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, our next question is, how do you help students separate their self-worth from the outcomes of their college applications? How can students deal with feelings of comparison during this time?
Oof, that's a big one.
It is.
This is, and Kate, I feel like you and I have had brief conversations a little bit about this when we were preparing for the college workshop through FBLA that about a month ago or so, somewhere in that area. So full honesty here, I don't know if there's an easy answer to these questions here, but I'll certainly try. I think that the culture of college admissions these days makes it really, really, really easy to conflate self-worth with where you are admitted. I see this with seniors. I have a feeling it's going to happen with juniors that are coming up in the process. So I would encourage students, my advice would be to encourage students to do the best they can to be as authentic as they can be in the college admissions process, but know that you're not defined by it.
Yeah.
So be authentic, be yourself as you submit your application, but you are not defined by it. Along with that, I would encourage students to trust the process a bit of how it's going to unfold is how it will unfold. But that's really scary because
Yeah.
if you're a student that has like been pretty successful, pretty high achieving, and has taken control of their academics for so long, now that control is gone in a lot of ways because you
Yeah.
are not on the admissions committee.
Yeah.
So, but to trust that process as much as you can. Another piece of advice is if you have a track record of success academically, extracurricularly, is that even a word? I feel like hopefully it's a
so,
word.
yeah.
Yes.
No.
You need to remember that in the midst of the stress and worry that's attached to the process. Because I see students that get caught up in deadlines and recommendation requests and all that, all those things. But remember that you have done well before in other facets of your life. So it's likely that will serve you well in this exciting and terrifying experience that it can be. In terms of comparison, I would recommend not spending an exorbitant amount of time discussing it with your friends. I would strongly recommend that. Now, easier said than done. I would imagine, Grace, Kate, I'd love to hear from you if you feel like a fair amount of time was spent talking about college admissions with your friends. And then I have one more piece of advice, but I'd love to hear if you guys how you guys felt you handled that.
I just wanted to jump in and say one
Please.
thing that you were talking about. So one of the hardest decisions I had to make was choosing between a school that was like higher ranked and one that felt more like authentically me.
Sure.
And I stand by that deciding to go to the school that felt more authentic to me is the right decision and that I'm going to be happy with that. And I just wanted to remind anyone who might be listening that whatever the school is ranked is somewhat of an arbitrary number.
Yes.
And does not matter as much as is it a place that you are going to love.
Preach it, Grace. Yes.
And then talking about it was I really didn't talk about it because a lot of my friends were applying to a lot of the same schools as I was.
Okay.
And so we would like the beginning of senior year, everyone was just like, you would just list off all the places you're applying to. And I'd be like, okay. And then I just didn't talk about it. So from basically August until I committed, I like outside of like my family, I didn't really talk to my friends too much about where I was getting in, where I was getting waitlisted, deferred. Like, aside from a couple of my very close friends, or like one of my favorite things to do is I would talk to juniors or freshmen in high school. I mean, freshmen in college, so they're like outside of it.
Yeah.
And just like, because I feel like it's hard even to like be happy for someone who got into a school that you got waitlisted or rejected from.
Sure.
So I think like almost trying to keep yourself separate from other seniors during the process. I think that truly helped my mental health so much during it because I didn't know where other people were going and other people didn't know where I was getting in. And that was great for me. I don't know what the experience was like for you, Kate.
I feel like mine was very different. I was definitely someone who spent like a lot of time talking about college admissions and the whole process. But I will say I kind of lucked out in the sense because so the summer before senior year, I went to a summer program and there I met like some of my best friends that like don't go to school, like don't go to the same high school as me. So they're like from like Long Island, DC area, like all over. And so all of us like early decisioned or restrictive early actioned to a school. And so I kind of separated the conversations I had where I would mostly like talk about college with them and not with like my school friends like here. And I think that honestly really helped in a way also because we basically all like early to different schools. And so we kind of
It worked out really well.
Yeah, it did work out well where we like some of my other friends, like, they early to the same school, but no one else early to the same school as me. And so, like, being able to kind of, like, share our, like, struggles together,
Yeah.
it wasn't really, like, we were never comparing ourselves
Or competing.
It was kind of just, like, understanding how
Mhm.
others felt. And I was one of the last one to get my early decisions out, and, like, almost all of my friends got either deferred or, like,
Mhm.
one of my friends got rejected. And so I think, like, even being there to just support them, like, taught me
Mhm.
so much, like, how to even support people, like, over the phone, because, like,
Mhm.
all my friends, like, they live so far away. But
Mhm.
I think, like, honestly, that process taught me a lot in itself, and I felt lucky that I got to separate that college talk from, like, my high school friends, because I
Mhm.
feel like with my friends here, we didn't really talk about it that much.
That's great.
And I feel like a big part of that was also because, unlike you, like, my friends and I were all applying to pretty different schools. So there wasn't really, like, I don't know. We just also didn't want to, like, really make it competitive between us, you know, because I just feel like it wasn't really necessary.
And I feel like me and my friends would never intentionally try to make it competitive.
Sure.
But, like, you know, when you're applying to some of the, like, very top tier schools,
Mhm.
that it's not very likely that they're going to accept 5 people from the same high school.
Sure.
Like,
Sure.
it just typically doesn't
Yes.
happen.
Mhm.
That being said, there are 4 people from Upper St. Clair going to Princeton. So,
So
sometimes it does happen. It could happen.
Which shows you, I think, that you can try your best to understand the admissions process, and then it flips it on its head, right?
And then
You
there's
know?
that.
So,
Yeah, the admissions process is very just unpredictable.
Grace, can I ask you a question?
Of course.
So you mentioned that you found the shift that you made was focusing on what's the most authentically a fit for me. So how did you arrive at that place would be my question.
It was definitely hard because, like, if you would have asked me a month before I made the decision, I would have told you I would have picked the other one.
Okay.
And I think it just took me, like, literally, like, all of high school to get to the point where it was like the numbers really don't matter as much as, like, how you feel.
The numbers mean like how selective the school is.
Like how selective. And, like, I just being, like, physically in both of the places, like, I felt more at home at William and Mary than I did anywhere else. And I was like, I thought about it so much, and I was like, I would rather be somewhere where I feel at home.
Yes.
And, like, I would know the transition to college is going to be difficult, but I was like, I felt like it would be more difficult somewhere else than going somewhere where I'm like, I already feel like I'm going to be my authentic self here.
Yes.
And one of my, like, absolute fears would be going to college and pretending to be someone I'm not.
Sure.
So even if that means that I chose the school that's less selective, but I think it's going to be more, I'll be more true to myself.
Yes.
And I think it's just, like, I don't want to base the next 4 years of my life based off of what, I don't know, the Washington Post says is a better school than another one. Because it's the Washington Post.
Yes,
They're not the ones going to that college.
They're not Grace.
Yeah.
Right.
Can I add something there? One of the last piece of advice is that I was going to mention here as well is you touched on it here is we talk a lot about what's the best fit, fit. And when we say fit, what I talk about fit academically, socially, and financially. So what's the best fit academically, majors, minors, access to professors, all that sort of stuff. Socially, big, small, rural, city, school spirit, artsy, whatever it might be. And then financially, how much debt are we possibly talking about here? And because that's a very real part of the process there too. So I love that you're thinking about those things.
Yeah.
So
let's take a moment to acknowledge St. Clair Health. We're deeply grateful for their generous sponsorship of the 4th season of Teen Step In.
At St. Clair Health, we're always improving, building on our commitment to face the challenges of today, making an impact on the communities we serve so we can be stronger together. By creating reliable resources that recognize all of our neighbors, with access to the highest quality healthcare, advanced care close to home, and a shared humanity that delivers on our joint vision to create a healthier community for all. St. Clair Health, expert care from people who care.
Okay, so my next question is a little bit about the waitlist and deferred process. So I'm going to very briefly explain what that means. So if you're deferred, it means you applied to a school early, and it's like a maybe. It's a we're going to wait and see. So it means you go back, your application goes back into the big pool, and they look at it again when they're doing regular decision. It's not a yes, it's not a no, it's a wait and see. And then also being waitlisted comes later, so it's at the end of the admissions process. So you'll get accepted, you'll get rejected, or you could get waitlisted, which is a maybe. It's we don't have a spot for you yet, but if one opens up, you might get a spot.
Mm-hmm.
You also might not, because sometimes spots don't open up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very familiar with the waitlist. Very familiar. And it's something that a lot of people will get, and it's hard. Being waitlisted or deferred is hard.
Yes. I was waitlisted at 2 colleges several years ago when I went through the admissions process.
Waitlisted, I think 4.
There we go.
Very familiar.
A lot of my friends, like I have pretty good insight from the friends I was talking about earlier that I met over the summer. So I mentioned earlier that many of them, like we all early to some school, some of us like mostly different schools. So one of my friends, restrictive early action, or I don't know if they call it restrictive or single choice early action.
It's restrictive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Stanford calls it single choice or something.
Stanford calls it restrictive.
Oh, then whatever. One of
I
those
would
two.
know.
Yeah. So she early to Yale, and she got deferred.
Okay.
And then she ended up getting in regular.
Oh wow.
My other friend, early decision to Duke, got deferred, got into Duke, and then got into Yale regular in Stanford. And she's going to Yale. I know. And then my other friend, early decision to Duke, got deferred, got into Duke, got waitlisted at Yale, and got off the Yale waitlist, and now he's going to Yale. So all 3 of them are going to Yale. So it's just interesting to see how, like...
in different routes.
Yeah, different routes, because, like, some people will think, like, a lot of people get discouraged by, like, deferrals, because people think, like, oh, like, I got deferred from Duke. Duke is ranked, like, I don't know, 5 spots lower. I'm just saying hypothetically. I don't know how many spots lower. Like, than Yale. Like, there's no way I'm going to get into Yale. But, like, everything is so random, and it's honestly such, like, a lottery sometimes. Like, getting deferred from a quote-unquote lower-ranked school, like, by no means is Duke a lower-ranked school. I'm just saying, like, in people's minds, people think that if you compare it to Yale, like, that does not mean you don't have a shot at regular decision. And I feel like it's important to, like, not let a single school's decision in the early round, like, make you feel so discouraged for the entire process. Absolutely. Because you never know what can happen.
Okay, so getting to the actual question for Mr. Bowles.
Yeah.
I was like,
can I chime in on that? Is that okay?
I'll ask you the question and then you go from there. What should students do if they're waitlisted or deferred, emotionally and practically? And then Kate gave us the great advice of
I kind of forgot we didn't ask the question.
Don't let what one school says define your entire admissions process. Yeah. And you can get into one school and you can not get into another one. You know, it is random. It can be random at times.
It can feel that way a whole lot. And I would say that, especially if you're looking at really selective admissions, schools that are highly, highly selective in the process, I like to think about them, I'm probably going to butcher this metaphor. Kate, I might have said this to you before in a meeting, but they're building an orchestra. And so when thinking about an orchestra, you can't have half the orchestra playing one instrument. You got to have all these different instruments. So Yale might need, this many people that play the violin, and then Stanford might need this many people that play the cello, whatever it might be, whatever it could be. So because they all have to sound correct and not correct, sound beautiful together. Yep. You know what I mean? So recognizing that's why it's hard to, I think, understand the rhyme or reason between the rankings and where or not you get admitted. So, but thinking about the waitlist or deferral, what to do, emotionally and practically. Number one, I always encourage students, if you're waitlist or deferred, to remember that you are still in the running.
Yep.
So you are still in the process, and you want to keep communications with that college positive and upbeat as you go through. This is not a situation where you beg and plead them to let you in. It's a situation where you're excited to still be considered by this school, and you provide them occasional updates that are genuine updates of what's going on in your life academically, extracurricularly, and whatever it might be. Um, while you are staying in touch with that school or those schools, I definitely make sure that you have a plan to attend somewhere else. So don't hang your hat on getting into the wait list from that school, because we don't know what will happen with that.
Yeah.
So if a spot opens up where you're waitlisted, great.
Mhm.
Nice bonus, something to think about, like Kate, some of the friends you mentioned there before. And remember that if you are not pulled off the wait list, you are still not defined by the process.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
And it's especially difficult with waitlist because there's no clear end in sight.
yeah.
So I am still on the waitlist at places.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm gonna get in. I don't know if I'm gonna get rejected, and I might not know until July.
Would you go to any of those schools if you were admitted,
Well,
given how you feel about the authentic fit of your planned school now?
it would definitely be hard, but I am waitlisted at Harvard.
Okay.
So I feel like it'd be another one of those things that, like, I don't know if I can say no to Harvard. But I also don't think I'm going to get off the wait list, because typically you don't. People don't usually say no to Harvard.
Sure.
So then someone has to say no for me to go to Harvard. So it's like, I'm trying to do like we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Sure.
And not plan like, if I get in, then I'll do this.
Sure.
Because I don't know, like,
Yeah.
I'm
It's out of your control.
yeah, I'm kind of keeping it out of my mind now.
Sure.
And if I get an email that says, Grace, you've been accepted to Harvard,
Mm-hmm.
then I'll figure it out then.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, like, I am just focused on my current plan, and if something else changes, it'll happen when it happens.
I applaud you for being present to what's right there in front of you. So that's great.
Just to like quickly skim over question 5 before we move on to 6, just to keep time in mind. I think it's important, like I'm sure Mr. Bowles, you can add to this, to not like set your whole heart on this one dream school, because if it comes to it, and like we mentioned earlier, if you define your entire like worth on one school and their decision, oftentimes it doesn't work out in the best way.
Yes, 100%. I think you're speaking truth there. Ultimately, I would encourage any students I work with to not allow external factors like admissions, grades, success on the field to determine one's self-worth.
Yeah.
Easier said than done, but I think college admissions is an extension of hopefully something we're learning over the course of high school.
Yeah.
So,
Yes. Okay. This one I think might be the most important question. What questions should students be asking themselves when choosing between schools or deciding whether college is right for them at all?
I think I would boil this down to one thing, and that's what I said earlier: fit, fit, fit. Really think about what's a good fit for you academically, socially, and financially. And I think that the more honest you are and authentic, I think authenticity has come up a few times here in this conversation. I think the better off you're going to be when considering where you would like to apply and where you want to go. So if you have ideas of majors, teaching style, size, proximity to home, extracurriculars, campus life, how much debt you might accrue, all those things I think are good factors to guide you in the right way.
Absolutely.
Not just rankings.
I think it's just like, it's a different decision and a different set of priorities for everyone. And I think especially like the financial side of it, I feel like is often overlooked, especially considering where we are in the South Hills, and it's generally a very affluent community. But it's like the financial side of it is huge. It's a lot of money.
Yes.
And I've like some of my good friends are paying for college themselves and have had to choose they've had to choose somewhere else over their dream school because of money.
Sure.
And it sucks and it's hard, but knowing it's the right decision in the long term is also really important.
And I also think, too, Grace, that the sooner you have those probably maybe difficult conversations at home about what is realistic and what is not financially, the better off we're going to be. It breaks my heart when those conversations start to happen in April of senior year, when it just isn't, it's not in the cards at that point. And it would have been nice to have known that much, much earlier.
Yeah.
And there's good resources out there like the net price calculator, which can at least give you an idea of what your financial aid package might look like should you be admitted.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that's really important to note, just to add quickly, especially when considering like early decision, because like with early decision, it's binding. So
correct.
It's binding, but you can technically say no because of financials.
Yes.
It's like the secret option, but
you're not supposed to.
You're not supposed to, and it'll make the college really mad at you.
Yes, it's messy, and you want to make sure that there's a general expectation if admitted you will go.
Yeah.
If you go early decision. So I caution anyone if they're not ready to be all in if they're admitted it's probably not wise to make that decision.
And that's why I did an early decision anywhere. Because I wasn't ready to be all in. I wasn't sure.
Yes, and that's okay.
You don't have to early decision.
And let's be real, you two are seniors in high school, but there's a lot of pressure on you to make some real big decisions by like October of your senior year, Some are ready to do that, but not everybody. But the colleges define that process. You don't.
So moving on to the second half, which is honestly more like the last quarter at this point, because we did have to cut out 2 of the questions just for time constraints. Sure. My first question is, how can parents and guardians best support their teens during this stressful time without adding additional pressure?
Mr. Bowles, before you start, I just wanted to jump in real quick because we were talking about the financials.
Oh, yeah.
I think being open about what it's going to look like paying for college very upfront is very helpful. Like I'm incredibly lucky that from when I was a sophomore, my parents were very open. They said that we are going to be able to pay for your college, and it's not something that financials aren't something you need to consider in the admissions process. And I'm so incredibly lucky that that's how it is. But I think it's just important to know, when you just start your college search, should I be looking at the tuition, scholarships, all of that, and should I be applying for scholarships? And I think from my perspective, I think one of the most important things is the financial side of it. 'Cause it's a lot of money.
Yes.
It's a lot of money.
I mean, some schools are nearing $100,000 almost in tuition and room and board for 1 year, Not there yet, but I think we're getting close to 6 figures, everybody.
I think,
it's scary.
It's actually funny because Penn, so they sent me my financial aid package, and then they emailed me. It was the night of the cum laude ceremony, actually. Sure. They emailed me and they were like, there's been an update posted, and I click on it and I see they gave me more money, and I got so excited. And then I looked, and my mom was I sent the screenshot to my mom, and my mom goes, but we're paying the same amount. Turns out they just raised their
tuition,
cost of attendance and tuition by the same amount.
Got it.
Now it's it's almost 100,000 without financial aid.
It's real deal Holyfield. That is,
it's a lot of money.
So then I was no longer excited.
Exactly.
That's valid.
But you had a great celebration for your academic performance that night, anyway, to soften the blow there. I would say, in addition to the financial conversation, if a parent or guardian is listening to this, my first piece of advice would be to set up a specific day and time or something to that degree where you weekly check in on the college admissions process. I've heard from students, this is all anecdotal, that the conversation that happens in the car on the way to school, dropping off to basketball practice or whatever it might be, did you get this done? What about that? How about that essay? How about that scholarship? that only adds more pressure to it, and it
I
keeps
agree.
the conversation open the whole
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Where set up on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. we sit down and we do it for an hour. We talk it through, and then if it's a crisis, then like address it
Yeah.
before then. But besides
Yeah.
that, time and place.
And from the student side of that, when I was like at the height of like all the decisions were coming out right at the end of March, I did limit my parents to one question a week.
Sure, there you
Because
go.
I could not
Sure.
I could not
Yes.
handle it. And I was like, I will tell you guys, I will tell you as soon as it happens. You can't ask me.
Yeah.
I'll tell you when it happens.
That's ownership of the process, like we talked about
Mhm.
before. And one other thing I would say too is if a parent or guardian is seeing a student consistently miss deadlines, that might be a sign that it's worthwhile to think about, is this the best fit for next year too? Like zooming it out a little bit larger versus than just forcing to say we will continue to go on this path of a 4-year school next year.
Something my parents did to support me in the process that I personally really liked is that they were like present virtually in the meetings I had with my counselor. So they knew what my plan was and they knew what my counselor was thinking about it. So like they were there on a Google Meet when I went through my list and we talked target safety reach. And I think that prevented them from having to ask me, and they were also a little bit more assured that like a professional
An adult
agrees
was
that this is right. Because like they did the college admissions process like 20 something years ago.
Sure.
Like it was very different then. You're still sending it in on paper.
Yes. 100%.
Okay, let's finish it off with what's one piece of advice you give seniors that you wish more students listen to?
I'm going to come back to a point that I made before, if that's okay. So you are not defined by this process. If you have a track record of success, again, academically, extracurricularly, whatever it might be, trust it. Where you go is not who you will be. So
that's such a great way to end it.
I know. It really tied everything together, I feel.
I stole that from a book. That was I will say that. So disclosure for there.
To conclude, we want to express our gratitude to St. Clair Health, whose support makes this podcast possible. We invite you to listen to the following message from our sponsor.
At St. Clair Health, we're always improving, building on our commitment to face the challenges of today, making an impact on the communities we serve, so we can be stronger together. St. Clair Health, expert care from people who care.
Thank you so much for being on our episode today, Mr. Bowles.
Thank you for the invite. I was honored to be here.
Thank you for giving us your insight. I really hope this will be helpful to all of our listeners.
Yeah, I think it was really great to integrate like the counselor and the student perspectives because like you help so many students through it every single year, and then we also just went in it, so went through it, so it's pretty fresh in our minds. So
well, and I appreciate it as a counselor because it gives me a good pulse of what the student experience is like here from another perspective.
That's great.
So it's mutually beneficial.
Yes.
All right. Thank you for listening, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
The views and opinions expressed in the Teens Tap In podcast represent the opinions of the hosts and their guests. The views and opinions expressed by Outreach Teen and Family Services employees, donors, and volunteers are their own and do not necessarily reflect the view of Outreach Teen and Family Services or the show's sponsors. The content here should not be taken as counseling advice. The content here is for informational purposes only, and because each person is unique, please consult your mental health provider or physician for any mental health counseling or other medical questions. The podcast should not be used in any legal capacity whatsoever, including, but not limited to, establishing a standard of care in a legal sense, or as a basis for expert witness testimony. No guarantee is given regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on the podcast. If you find any error in any of the content of the podcast, please contact us at podcasts@outreachteen.org. Outreach Teen and Family Services, its sponsors, donors, and partners expressly disclaim any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages whatsoever arising out of any individual's use of, reference to, reliance on, or inability to use this podcast or the information presented in this podcast. Please go to www.outreachteen.org to see the complete notice and disclaimer for the podcast episodes.